There's something oddly satisfying about combining digital pixel art with fiber arts. In fact, I've heard people call cross-stitching analog pixel art, and I really like that. And when you combine both with everybody's favorite Pokemon cards, you get one of the coolest DIY projects ever. If you ever wanted to get into cross-stitching, or if you wanted a fun and interesting way to use some of those duplicate Pokemon cards, then this is the perfect weekend project. In this video, I'm going to guide you through transferring pattern onto the card, stitching it, and getting it ready for display. I'm Ford, this is my supervisor Nugget, and welcome to Caterpillar Cross Stitch. And I'm going to just jump right into the lesson. If you promise to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment, and if you're already a subscriber and you're on your mobile phone, find that little hype button down there somewhere. I don't know if it works, but I want to give it a try. Now let's make some art. The materials that we'll be using are, of course, a Pokemon card. We'll need a pattern as well. I made this one by staring really hard at some Gen 8 sprites. We'll also need some EVA foam, this flexible stuff you'll find at the craft store. We're also going to need a piece of Ada that is bigger than our pattern, but smaller than the card. We'll need some scissors. We'll need all of the colors of floss that go with the pattern, and a sharp, big needle. I'm using these size 18 DMC darners, and I used some oven-baked polymer clay to make this one into an awl. Then I'm going to need some needle minders, a permanent marker, and some masking tape. Now the first thing we want to do is transfer our pattern onto that piece of Ada, which is going to act as our jig for punching evenly spaced holes in the card. So the way I'm going to do this is by basically just drawing all of the stitches on my Ada instead of stitching them on. So I'm going to want to count to a position where I know it's going to fit within the Ada that I have available. And I'm going to start by just drawing an X where I would normally stitch an X. And then anywhere that the color lines touch a hole, that's one of the holes that I'm going to punch when I go through. If I'm making multiples of these, I can use the same piece of fabric over and over again, which is one of the advantages of doing it this way. Plus, using Ada instead of the paper gives me a physical guide for somewhere to put my awl when I go to punch the hole, which makes it easier for me to put the holes in a consistent place. Now, after a while, I'm going to get a little more comfortable with the counting, and I'll wind up just kind of scribbling all of the middle ones and only drawing the X's on the ends of each row. And I find it a little bit easier for me to keep track if, instead of following shapes or forms the way I would when I'm stitching, I follow the rows. So I count each row as I go across. Now, I'm going to make a couple of mistakes here, you'll probably notice, and I just use a different color of marker to black out the squares that I drew in by mistake so that I don't accidentally poke those holes when I'm stitching. Now I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest of this in time lapse, but while I'm working on that, make sure you join the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Stitch Club email newsletter. As soon as you sign up, you'll get 10 free PDF cross stitch patterns, including a year-long temperature tracker pattern, which is really fun, and all those are worth £60. Plus, you'll be kept up to date on all of the upcoming stitch-alongs, retreats, socials, new projects, patterns, all the kinds of things coming out from Caterpillar Cross Stitch. You can just hit the link down there in the description or in the first pinned comment to sign up. Now that that's all done, we're going to want to attach our whole jig to our card. And we're going to use the masking tape for that. I would recommend sticking it to and peeling it off of your skin a couple of times before you do, just to reduce the amount of stickiness. I don't want it to peel up anything off the surface of the card when I remove it. So all I'm going to do is put the masking tape along the long edge of my jig and position it on the face of my card. You notice it's a little bit smaller so that I can stick it to the face, and then I can pull it up off of the desk and roll it around the corner to hold it in place there so it won't slide and it won't buckle. And then I will just do the exact same thing with the other piece of tape on the other side that I already de-stickied by sticking it to myself a couple of times. And then you want to double check to make sure that that is all nice and straight on there, and then we'll be ready to start punching our holes. And this is where our EVA foam and our needle or awl are going to come into play. Now that we've got that positioned and we've got it on top of our piece of EVA foam, it's ready to punch some holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch a hole in the card at every location where the color touches a hole, or where I would have put my needle through the fabric if I were doing a stitch. So a single stitch needs 4 holes, but the stitch next to it will share 2 of them, and the one diagonal to it will share 1 of them. So we need to make sure to punch the hole anywhere that the needle would be going through. We don't want to get that fence post counting error like I've talked about in a previous video, where it's called that because if you're going to make a fence that is 5 panels long, you need 5 panels, but you need 6 fence posts because you have to start counting from 0. So that's an easy mistake to make while doing this, but if you make sure to count spaces rather than holes, you're less likely to make a mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and start punching the holes at all of the squares that I've colored in here. And just like when I'm drawing the stitches onto the fabric, it's easier to go row by row instead of following the forms around because I can't really see where I've already done, and it's easy for me to lose track. So if I just go straight across and punch every hole that the color touches, then I'm less likely to miss one. Make sure you keep your needle or your awl perfectly vertical so that your holes are nice and straight and don't get a little bit wonky. While I do the rest of this in time lapse as well, let me tell you about the other Caterpillar Cross Stitch social media accounts, especially the Facebook group and the Instagram. Those are amazing, supportive community spaces with tens of thousands of stitchers and therefore hundreds of thousands of years of cumulative cross-stitching experience. It's a tremendous resource if you're just getting started in the craft or you want to level up your game. There's an unbelievable amount of knowledge available in those two spaces, and if you're not taking advantage of it, you're really missing it out. So make sure you check both of those out. Now that I've got all of my holes punched, the next thing that I'm going to want to do is remove my hole punching jig, or my colored up piece of Ada, from the surface of the card. I'll carefully peel back the masking tape, and it should come cleanly off because I removed some of the sticky from it. And there we have our holy Pokemon card. So now we're ready to get started stitching. So I'm going to want to start with the most prevalent color, the one that is spread out the most over the pattern, so that when I do the other colors, I have something to bury them under, to tie them off. So since the black goes all the way around the outside here, I'm going to start with the black. It will also make it easier to count all the other colors as I'm doing it. A couple of other minor considerations that I'm going to do a little bit differently here as opposed to my normal stitching is that one thing, I'm going to use a smaller needle than I normally would. Since I used 14 count Ada for my spacing guide, I'm actually going to use a size 26 needle, which is a size smaller than I would normally use. Because one of the things the needle does is it stretches the fabric a little bit to let the floss through, but cardboard or paper doesn't stretch, it will tear. So we want to use a smaller size needle to avoid that happening and avoid weakening the space between all those holes that we did. I'm also going to definitely want to use either the dual needle method that I taught you a few weeks ago or a loop start so that I have fewer starts and stops of the floss as I go through. I started using the dual needle method, but I kind of gave that up after a little while because keeping the extra floss out of the way proved to be too cumbersome. So then I switched to using the loop start. That way there's only one end of the floss that has to be ended when I'm done stitching. Also notice that I'm using the needle minder here to hold on to the card. I did this as a practice and I discovered that the moisture and the oils from my skin, even though my hands were very clean, still kind of made the card a little bit bendy and soft. So instead of hanging onto the card with my hands, I'm using the needle minders as sort of a grip to hold onto the fabric. And you'll see later that I'll add another one in as well. And along a similar vein, count very, very carefully. Double count and triple count to avoid making mistakes because fabric is a lot more forgiving than cardstock is. It will relax a little bit and it will close back up after you do it. So you don't want to have to do as much frogging on cardboard or you're more likely to tear it and wind up with poor quality. So just be a little more careful and mindful of your counting when stitching because frogging has more consequences when stitching this way. So let's go ahead and fast forward for a little while. You can watch me stitch here. And since you've made it this far into a video about cross-stitching on a Pokemon card, I'm going to guess you're, let's say, polycrafterous. You're a person who's interested in a diverse type of crafts. So you might be excited to know that Caterpillar now has a crochet division as well. You can find us on Facebook or on Instagram to get started, but there is the same supportive community and beginner-friendly patterns and kits that you've come to know and love from Caterpillar Cross Stitch, but for crochet. So make sure you check those out too. This is taking a little longer than I intended, so rather than record the rest of it, I'm going to use a little bit of movie magic. That was just a few seconds for you, but it was several hours for me. So I'm finally ready to get that ready to display in my frame. So we're going to be using is a piece of mat board and this shadow box frame that I got at my craft store. And then I'm going to put the card back into the little protective sleeve because I'm going to be using adhesive to mount it and I don't want it to be permanently locked into that. So I'll be able to change my mind about it later or be able to take the card out and show off my handiwork, that kind of stuff. So I've got these little dimensional mounting foam squares. They're acid-free, they're intended for framing and this kind of stuff, which I also got at the craft store. I bought one package of them like 8 years ago, but they'll make the card sort of stand up off of the surface. So it just kind of gives it a little more impact and power, but they're a little thinner than I would want them to be. So I'm going to use 2 layers of them to make it really kind of stand up off the backdrop. You'll be able to see the power of that as soon as I'm done. But it's a really quick and easy way to display something like this and have it ready to be gift. And now that I've got my mounting squares on there, I'm just going to sort of eyeball it, the position that I want it to be on the mat here. And that's where it's going to float in the frame. So then I just firmly press it down on there to get those foam squares to stick. And you can see how, especially with this gray mat board, it really kind of shows the shadows. So it really kind of gives it that depth and dimension. So then all I have to do is pop it into my frame and then put the back on the frame. And it's finished. I gotta tell you, I am so happy with how this turned out. It's just gorgeous. I'm very pleased. So there we have it, a one-of-a-kind handmade piece of mixed media art that cannot be duplicated by AI. Make a great gift or just to display in your home. Now, if you have a question you'd like to see me answer on the channel, leave it in the comments and I'll see if I can get around to it. Other than that, I do want to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe or hype the channel. My name is Ford and I'll see you next week.